Hey guys, how's it going? Sorry, I meant to upload this a couple of days ago, but I had a few things to get on with. This is going to be a two-part tutorial, but trust me, it's going to be a pretty good one. Now, this is the kind of title badge that we're going to be making. It's kind of nicknamed like the Hipster badge or whatever. But yeah, this is what we're going to be creating. I've rendered it into a little GIF just so I can preview it back fast enough for you. But yeah, it's going to be a two-part one. First one, we're going to be actually making the materials. The second one, we're going to be animating. So trust me, it's going to be a really good one. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So yeah, follow along and you'll have something that's looking as ace as this. So let's get started. Now, first thing you're going to need to do, obviously, is make a new composition. Now, my composition is 25 frames per second. It's 1920 by 1080. So let's dive on in. Now, if we look back at that one we just had, first thing we're going to need to do is let's make the text. So I have downloaded a font for this, and I can't remember what it's called. I think it was Hipster something. We'll find out when I make it. Right, first of all, get the text tool. It's called, there you go, Hipsterish Font Normal. It was downloaded from dafont.com, so just head on over to dafont.com. Link for that will be in the description, and download that, install it, you'll be fine, you'll be laughing. There is a tutorial on how to install fonts for Windows, and I do kind of like talk over how you would do it on Mac. But anyway, I'm not a Mac fan, so don't hate on me for that, but let's crack on. Now, got my text tool. A lot of people tend to click and drag to draw a text box. I don't like that way. Just click and you'll be able to type. So first word I'm going to type is creative. Okay. Now, as you saw in the other one, it was curved. So let's drag this into the center first of all. There we go. Just drag and drop that there. That's fine. Now, to curve this, what you're going to want to do is click down here and you've got text, and then you want to come down to path options. And first of all, you see you go to path and it says none because it hasn't got a mask on here yet. So what we want to do is we want to actually draw a circular mask. Okay, so if you come up to the top, you'll probably have a rectangle tool up there. What you want, hold your click down, select the ellipse tool. Ellipse just basically means a circle. So if I click and drag while holding shift, that makes a nice uniform circle like so. Now, at the moment, it's acting as a mask. You've got mask 1, and it just masks out the area which isn't inside the circle. So what we want to do, turn that to none. So it's not actually masking the text at the moment. Then we can come back to path options, come to path, and we can actually select mask 1. And you'll see something happen. It goes to that curve. Now, we don't want it down there. We want it up here. So what we want to do, first of all, is reverse path, turn that to on, just by clicking it, and now it's on the outside. And then with this first margin, if we just click and drag, it'll move around the outside, and we want to get it to the top. It's going to be a value of, well, with me, because of the size of my circle, it's going to be a value of roughly, probably about 1,100, because we want the A to be dead in the center, just like that. There you go, and we've got that on our path, so that's 1244 for me. So I can close that down now, because I've done that one, I've done the word creative, that's all good. Next, we want to do the kind of same thing again. So I'm going to get the text tool, type out the word, for me it's going to be tap, creative tap, and then I'm going to move that kind of into position more or less. We can kind of move things around later, but there you go, by there. And we want to do the same again. So I'm going to get this ellipse tool, click and drag to draw a circle. Remember to hold shift to make it uniform, and yeah, that's going to be okay. Now we want to go down, turn it to none, because we don't need to actually mask it, even though it's not outside at the moment, but just turn it to none. Come down to text, again, path options, mask 1. And we want this one on the inside. And I think actually it's lined up fairly good at the moment. So let's just collapse these. And there we go, we've got the text in there. So we had two circles. We had a circle on the inside and a circle on the outside. So I'm just going to move the word creative down a bit, like so. And I'm going to go ahead, make sure you haven't got any of these layers selected. Just click off, click the ellipse tool. We don't want to fill, so to get rid of that, click the word fill. And then you can just select this little none box by here, click OK. We'll have a white stroke of about 5 pixels, I think that'll do. So remember, click and hold shift, and we're just going to draw that out. Okay, probably around that size is going to be fine. We can resize it later, don't worry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of move this roundabout into position, like so, and that's fine. I'm going to move the word tap down. I mean, you'll understand, you'll just want to move everything into the correct space, just, you know, so it fits. And around that's going to be fine. Now I will modify the creative because it kind of goes off at the sides. So in order to do that, to make it kind of go to the side, if you select the word creative, and you just want to move, it's got this mask still on there, you just want to move the points. So if I just click to move this point, you can see it kind of comes in and it goes round. But when we move this one round, it's going to do the same, and it kind of conforms to it a lot better. Now we can use that first margin that we used before to kind of fix that. I'm also, undo that, I'm going to move these handles in as well, just to make it a little bit tighter around there. And just to keep everything as it should be, I'm just going to move this up and just manipulate this mask. Sorry, my battery's running low. I'm just going to pause it and then I'll be back with you. There we go, sorry about that, all back now. Last thing we want is for my battery to run out halfway through. So as I said, I'm just going to move these points just so they kind of match up, and it's a tight circular mask around that inside circle, and we can use the value, that first margin value, to move this text around later. So don't worry about that, it's all a little bit problem solving really. So let's just make this a little tighter, like so. And eventually, when we get there, we'll end up with something which is looking pretty good. So move this in, move that up. That's going to be good enough. So what we want to do is come back down into the first margin and just move this back around so that A is back in the middle. Sorry, I may have just hit a car go past. Sorry about that. Now these is still away a bit, so I'm going to come back to that mask. I'm just going to keep on modifying it until we got something which is looking nice, and yeah, we're there basically. So if I click off the mask, this little toggle mask and shape path visibility, you can just turn it off, and you can see that's pretty confined to it now, and so is the word tap, that's fine. So next thing we want to do is collapse this down. We've already got our shape layer 1, so I'm just going to right click, rename this to inner, there's only 2 ends in inner, circle. Okay, there we go, so we've got that inner circle. Now next thing we want to do obviously is create the outer circle. So on a new mask, on a new shape layer, so make sure it's not selected, we're just going to do the same again. So get this circular tool, and we're going to draw a bigger one this time, something probably about that size, and then we can simply move it into position. Okay, maybe scale it down a bit, so get S, maybe 98, yeah, something like that, and then again just move it so it's in position. There we go, we've already got that sorted, that's all good. I'm just going to come back into the, if you look at the bottom of the C, the E is slightly to the right a little bit too much, so if we come back into the word creative, I'm just going to move this just so it's by, yeah, that's going to look a lot more central. There we go. So the other 2 things that were on here was a star bar there, and a tap in the middle. So I'm going to do the stars first, but before I do, remember, rename your layers. I'm going to call this outer circle. There we go. Cool. So on a new shape layer, make sure these aren't selected. I'm going to drop down into here, and we've got a star tool. Now we do want to fill with this one, or I personally do, so I'm going to click the box of fill, and I'm just going to select a white, which is already selected, and click OK. Awesome. So if you hold shift while you do this as well, it'll make sure that the stars are the correct way up, otherwise they'll be turning all over the place, and we don't want that, so just hold shift. And I think that size is going to be fine. Let's just move that into position. There we go. That's great. So I'm going to rename this now to star left. Yeah, that is left. I often get my lefts and my rights mixed up. And simply what we can do is now select this layer, because we want it the same size, Control D, and duplicate it. So we've got star left 2, but we'll just rename that obviously to star right. Awesome. Now just simply click and drag, and I'm going to hold shift to move it when I move it across, because that'll make sure wherever my mouse goes, it's on the same well, unless you go down, it's on the same X sort of level, so X goes across, and it's just at the same place. Okay, now I'm going to move this one a little bit more central, and I might select them both and move them down just a little bit. There you go. So we've got the stars in there now. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to import an image of my tap from the Creative Tap actual logo. Now I'm not going to upload my actual Illustrator file for you guys to use, but I will show you how to do it if you've downloaded a PNG image of a tap or anything, because you probably won't be using a tap for yours. Now what I'm going to do is double click, and I want to import that tap. Now I will have to remember where it is. If I come to desktop, I think, Creative Tap, logo, here it is, and tap 2. So I'm going to import this as an Illustrator file. So I'll click import, and as I'm doing so, if you are importing an Illustrator file, I want my dimensions to be the layer size, and that just confines it to around where the actual image is. Click OK. Excellent. So I'm going to drag this tap 2 down to here on top, and we've got it in there. But obviously at the moment it's a color version, so you may well have this with whatever image you're using. You just want to make sure it's got a transparent background, so whatever image you want to use. If you've got your own logo, that's fine, just export it with a transparent background, save it as an Illustrator or PSD file or PNG, or you can download a PNG image from wherever you get your images from. Anyway, to make this completely white, we're going to go to Effects and Presets, and we're going to go to Levels. Just drag a Levels on there, make sure it's on tap 2, yep. And then we're going to come down, and then we're just going to modify it, no, wrong one, modify these values, put that back. So we're just going to take the input black all the way down, and it should turn it completely white. And I'm going to strengthen these whites as well, and play around with these values until you get something that is completely white. Now there is still a bit of a line there, so another one I might use, and I did use curves last time actually, is just go to curves. That may be a better one. So drag that on, and I'm just going to take this dark point all the way up, the shadow point, all the way up to here. We still got that line in there actually, so it didn't really matter which one we used. So I'm going to go with the curves anyway, because I much prefer curves. But by the time we make it small, it'll be completely fine. So if I hit the S key, I'm going to put this down to about 38, I think is what I used before. Maybe different because the size may be off. I'm going to go, let's move that into the center. I think that's fine. I'm going to go to 35, I think. I think that'll look a little better. Yeah, excellent, cool. So that's what I want. Now, that kind of does it for this tutorial, because I want to do the animation in a separate one. But what I'm going to do is, this is called Comp 1 at the moment. I want to rename this to Hipster logo. There we go. So, in this tutorial, if you wanted to, you can click them all, select them all, and let's go to Title Action Safe and turn that on. And let's move it more into the middle. You don't have to, but I just kind of prefer just to keep things all central. Just like that. There we go. So just by there is going to be fine. So what we've done in this tutorial is we've created the asset which we're going to be using as dead in the center. So go ahead and do that, and I'll join you in the second tutorial, and we'll have a look at how we're going to animate this. So cheers for tuning into this one, and I'll see you in part 2.